At some point within business or at some point in any other thing you might do in life, you might work with a friend, you might work with a relative, you might do work or partnership with somebody you really care about. Maybe you might even have a client that's a friend of yours or a client that's a family member. And so a big question that I've gotten recently is, how do you work with your brother? How do you work with relatives? My last business, I co-owned with my wife. Guess what? We were 50-50 partners and we were married. For 4 years we worked together. Now she's a stay-at-home mom, but we had to navigate some of those really, really difficult things while we were partners in business. Same with my brother now. And a lot of that question is like, how do we actually do that without destroying one of those relationships? I've heard so much talk about partnership agreements and making sure everything is so clear and concise and making sure you deal with everything that could possibly happen before it could happen. So it's like dealing with almost a prenuptial agreement, right, in marriage. How often does that actually work super well to build trust and safety within a marriage? It might actually be beneficial within a partnership like in a business, but then with like clients and things like that, I have to get really clear with what are my core values and what are my priorities of value over everything else. And I think that's probably the thing I want to focus on most during this video. So I will just tell you, my brother and I are 50-50 partners in our business. And the way that we make that work is we've clearly communicated what our priorities are in life. A big core value of mine is that relationships are way more valuable than business, than money, right? And doing things. I told my wife at some point that I would burn the business to the ground if it ever threatened our connection, ever threatened our marriage. And that's something that I've continuously said over and over again over time to build more trust with her. Well, I've actually brought that same core value into pretty much everything else that I do, because I've learned that what really matters in life is not dollars next to your name, it's not dollars in the bank account, it's not the empire you've built or the things that you've done with your life. It's the people that are close to you, that know you and love you, and the community that you do life with. Several of our clients with Building Sales Machine, mine and my brother's business, were good friends of ours in the business space. And early on, we had so much communication because on both sides of those relationships, our fear was, is this going to hurt our friendship? Is this gonna be something that deters us from each other and breaks safety, breaks connection, causes us to not trust each other? And we wanted to make it a huge point to address those questions and those fears and be really vulnerable before we ever got in bed in business together. My brother and I had to do the same thing. I told my brother early on, sometimes you come across as judgmental and that scares me. And I know you're doing such a good job to work through that. And he really has. He's been someone that's run after his own dysfunctions. I have all my own tendencies, he has his tendencies. We have to know those things so we don't let those tendencies hurt the other person or cause resentment within business. But we've shared all of our fears with each other. We shared vulnerably what's coming up for us. We've shared concerns. I'm so scared of this happening, I'm scared of this happening. And what we've made a commitment to do within our business is to constantly bring up those things as needed to keep short accounts. If you are someone that really values relationships, I would encourage you to have a core value of keeping short accounts within your life and within relationships that you care about. Sharing things early on when it feels like it's just in process and just barely causing emotional dents or impact before it's turned into this big resentment that is driven by this massive narrative that this person doesn't care about me, this person doesn't find me important, this person doesn't value me. We build these narratives because we don't actually believe that our hearts matter, and we believe that we have to come up with this strong case built to show someone why they were a villain when they hurt us, instead of sharing things vulnerably and just letting it be okay that you just felt hurt. That's okay. As a person that values relationship, I care when I hurt and affect people and impact them. I don't need to know that I'm wrong. I don't need it to be some blame victim narrative for me to take ownership for the ways that I affect someone. Just the other day, I had a client that didn't feel safe with me. I said, hey, I'm noticing that I've been probably intense with you in a few different moments, and that's because I'm trying so hard to make sure that you don't go through the same suffering I went through in business with making the same mistakes. And so I wanted to apologize if I am coming across as intense. And he actually said, I have felt unsafe and I haven't wanted to come to you with certain things because it's felt intense. And he actually took ownership. He said, I've noticed that early on in my life that I had a parent in my life that was intense. And anytime I experience intensity like this, it causes me to shut down. And so I had to take ownership, not for what his parent had caused in pain, but the fact that I had showed up in a certain way that was different than the values that I want to carry within my relationships. And taking ownership for that, what did it do? It built safety and connection again for me to be able to coach him, lead him, and be a good asset to his business because he trusted me to help again. Whereas before, that communication bridge and connection was broken, so how am I gonna be able to effectively help him go in a direction he wants to go if he doesn't trust me? So I had to rebuild that trust again with him by taking ownership. So many of us are scared of taking ownership and responsibility for the ways we affect people because we're so scared of all of the blame being put on us. And we're so scared of that because deep within every single person is this fear that they are worthy of being rejected or abandoned because they're not a good boy or girl. We learn this growing up with our parents, we learn this in the school systems, we learn this with authority figures, we learn this with kids on the playground. We do something wrong and then people don't want to do relationship with you anymore. And it's painful, but we carry that into the way we interact nowadays. And we don't want to take ownership or responsibility for things. We're so scared it's going to reinforce our own shame that we feel internally. And so that causes us to not be vulnerable. And that's the worst thing that you can do in the close relationships that you are trying to protect connection. There are actually engagements that I've decided I'm not going to have a business relationship with this person because I know this person and I actually truly believe this would hurt our relationship if we did get into business bed together. And so there actually are times where it's important to carry wisdom and carry your own discernment into a moment and recognize this may not be worth the extra dollars I'll make from doing business with this person, like whether it's a partnership or having them as a client. This person or I am not able to do a relationship in that dual fashion. And that's what we were constantly addressing within my marriage is this something that we want to continue doing? And honestly, I got to the point where I was like, I want to be married again only. Our desires actually aligned and we shifted her out of our previous business and I took over most of everything within the business and hired personnel to take over her tasks as well. But it aligned with our individual goals to where we both wanted her out of the business 90% of the way. Okay, so say you're actually in a relationship right now and you are in a business venture with somebody and you're realizing this is actually hostile. Like this is not a healthy relationship now on both sides. Like this business relationship, however it's happening, is not beneficial to the relationship we have. The relationship we have is not beneficial to the business. This is something we should probably end, but I feel almost chained to it. Like let's say you're the person, it's like I feel like I can't escape this partnership now. I can't move on. It's really gonna hurt or damage both relationships and I feel scared and I don't know how to do that. Well, what I would say first is holding on to that emotion without talking about it, or at least bringing it up in a curiosity and understanding fashion is actually gonna hurt and damage the relationships far more because what it's gonna cause you to do is do fake relationship on both sides. You're gonna continue in business without trust at all. And so it's gonna damage how you guys function within business together. In your actual relationship, it's gonna damage your connection. You're gonna be doing fake relationship with each other. And a relationship where you are not honest with each other is not a relationship at all. So it is important to have that moment where you go, hey, I have a lot of things coming up for me. I'm not saying there's a direction that we have to go with it, but there are some things that I really want to connect with you about because I care about you, I value you, and ultimately I want to protect our relationship as much as possible. But I have to tell you too, I'm super scared of what your reaction might be. I'm scared of what this might turn into. I'm scared of how this might be destructive to our relationship. It's the last thing that I want, but I also know that it's really important for both of us to be honest with each other. Is that something you'd be willing to have? Asking a question like that and bringing curiosity without control, without manipulation, without you saying, this is how it is, it's my way or the highway, or this is how it has to go, or we're already ending things. Like you may even feel like it's already necessary to end that relationship, but it's important to bring it up in its stage of process before you decide it because it's important that other person decides it together with you and you guys make a mutual decision. Then when you go to have that conversation, again, communicate, hey, my highest priority is to protect connection with you, is to make sure that we're on the same page and to do the best thing moving forward for both of us. And then share vulnerability, right? This is where you go, I'm so scared to share these things. I'm scared you might use them against me. I'm scared. Whatever your fears are before you share those things. And do your best to not cast blame. Do your best to not project. Do your best to not tell somebody about themselves and their emotions. Do your best to not speculate motives or intention. Do your best to just share what you're feeling, what you're thinking, the story made up in your head, which might be your own narrative, that vulnerability is gonna bring you guys to a point where you can bring more information to the pool of information that you guys can then just fill that pool. And then once it's all there, then you guys make a collective decision for what's best for you guys moving forward. So I know we got super granular on all of this, right? It's like, how do you even have that conversation? I just wanna make sure that you guys know what it could actually look like to do something like this. It's not all peaches and unicorns when you go to work with or have a partner with your, somebody that's a relationship that you care about, right? You have to decide, what's my priority here? You might be the person that's like, I don't give a shit about friendships. I wanna make as much money as possible. Cool, go do it then. But I would say be honest with people that you're like, hey, this is what I want, right? I hope this was valuable. If you got something out of this, leave it in the comments. And also let me know if you want more subjects like this or more communication like this, or you guys have specific questions you want me to answer in any videos. I would love to hear from you guys. Put that in the comment section, and hope this was valuable. I'll see you on the next video.